Time now for 1 full hour of nitro-fueled NHRA talk. It's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts with Marty Huff and 10-time NHRA winner Doug Herbert. Brought to you by Hercules Tires. Now, here's your hosts, Doug and Marty.
This is The Straight Line on Drag Racing. Thanks for being here for our 1 hour of horsepower. Appreciate you being with us. Brittany Force didn't take long to earn her second Top Fuel victory. She will be here. Tim Wilkerson takes his second win of the year as well. We'll talk with him. Jason Line joins us, talking about his 4-wide win in 5 consecutive final rounds. We're in the beams and set to launch another edition of The Straight Line. Across the country, around the world, you are watching and listening to The Straight Line here on MRN.com, along with 4-time IHRA Top Fuel champion and 10-time NHRA National Event winner, and possibly the busiest man in the world, Doug Herbert. I am Marty Huff. Thanks for being here on The Straight Line. Well, let's recap. So Thursday, we are doing the show from Rocky River Golf Course, and just to kick off to your weekend, a long weekend, with the golf event, and then headed up to E-Town for
Did the show live last week from the golf event. That was a lot of fun. Great time, great golf event. I've got some video up on the screen, but everybody came out. Everybody is so supportive and so neat. Clay Milliken, Alan Johnson. It would take me 10 minutes to even remember everybody's name that we had. Humpy Wheeler, was good to see Humpy come out, and Patty, and gosh, I know we had John Roberts, Jeff Hammond,
Del Worsham was there. Greg
John
Anderson,
Oberhofer.
Yep.
Greg Anderson, his son Cody plays. He's a good golf player. Gosh, Ron Capps came out.
Taking selfies with Greg Anderson. We had a great time, and we heard nothing but good things from the competitors and people that were there, just having a good time.
Well, it's so neat that everybody's my buddies, and they come out. Most of them knew my boys, and so they come out and support the charity and support our events, and just super neat. It really makes me feel good to have all that support from everybody at the drag races, everybody here at MRN. Thank you guys for making the event successful. It was the best golf tournament, the best turnout, and the most money raised of any golf tournament that we've had, and that was our 9th annual, I think. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Which is saying something. It's a high bar to clear, and you did.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Well, Mimi is really good, and she does a lot of work going into it, and she was just about passed out. But afterwards, we took off, went to Englishtown, New Jersey, had a great break school up there in Englishtown, New Jersey this past weekend. Super turnout. The Knapp family, everybody at Englishtown was just super. And they're getting ready for the big Summer Nationals coming up here in another month or so. But a great turnout we had. You go to Jersey and you never know what you get. Sometimes you get a jerky boy. But but we had just an incredible bunch of families, had some neat kids out there, trained about a couple hundred teenagers to be safer and better drivers. And I'll tell you what, it's hard to drive in New Jersey, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So really, really had a fun time doing that, and come back to work here. And then this weekend we're off to Detroit, Michigan, and also Pomona. So we've got classes this weekend in Pomona and Detroit, Michigan. So it's busy. And
from here on out, for a long time, this is going to be the MO for breaks, probably until we get to the fall, where you're at least in one city, and more than likely you're going to be split in two different places.
Yeah, well, my goal training teenagers is I want to train every teenager. Well, obviously there's millions of teenagers, so that's going to be really hard. But we've started doing simultaneous schools on both sides of the country, and each weekend, and we've increased the size of our classes so we can train over 200 teenagers in a weekend, and actually times 2, so 400 teenagers in a weekend. So we're making a dent on it, and it's rewarding and fun, and I don't know a better way to make my boys proud than to help other teenagers and other families avoid losing someone they love in a car crash.
Yep, and for people that want to get in, that may be interested and want to look up more information, how do they find it?
Yeah, go to putonthebrakes.org. That's the best place to find information on that. If you have teenagers or you know teenagers, children, grandchildren, neighbors, friends at school, whatever, go to the website, find out about it. We've got safe driving contracts on there. We've got driving tips on there. It's a great place for information. Go there and find out about it. The students that have been to brakes are 64% less likely, according to a
amazing stat.
University study, 64% less likely to be in a crash. So unbelievable. And it's just so much fun to know that what we're doing is making a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, after all that,
I missed the four wides.
We went racing in an incredible weekend at zMax Dragway, in a place where obviously you do a lot of business and do a lot of work with the people at zMax Dragway.
Sure.
in putting on races there. But an incredible weekend for them, as Saturday they sold out.
And
zMax
I don't know
Dragway.
how much seating is, but the sellout zMax Dragway, for anybody that's never been to zMax Dragway, it's over 50,000 seats, or something around 50,000, I know. So it's by far more seats than any other track.
Right.
Like 10,000 or something, more than any other track. I think Pomona might be next, and Pomona's, I think, around 40,000. So that's a big crowd to have out there at zMax Dragway. They had great numbers. Brittany Force, low ET, J.R. Todd with top speed, and then in the funny cars, Alexis with low ET. So those Team Coletta cars, low ET and top speed for the Coletta cars, that was pretty neat. I went out, Mimi and I came home on Sunday night and went out to dinner with Jim-O and John-O.
Nice.
And Dave-O. So Jim-O, John-O, and their dad, we went out to dinner with them on Sunday night down in Charlotte and had a super fun time. Jim-O's, been my buddy for a long time, and just love those guys. So that was good. I was hoping that they were going to get a couple Coletta cars in the winner's circle. I think they got them to the final. They had a chance to win, but didn't get it done at the right time.
And Alexis was on the pole, and
pretty
Doug
good
Coletta,
weekend.
and Doug Coletta was in the
in the
final
Yep.
as well. So good points weekend for them. Tim Wilkerson, though, does get the job done, and what a job he's done. Second win of the year. I mean, this is the quickest that he has got to 2 wins in a season in his career.
Well, and he's jumped up to 4th in points, and really only a couple rounds out of the points lead. I mean, Wilkerson's car, he's a threat. Yeah. And I know when we talked to him a couple weeks ago, but Richard Hartman, he gave a lot of credit to Richard Hartman kind of helping him because, Tim is the owner, the driver, the crew chief, the this, and that. I mean, he does everything. So to have a right-hand guy that he gets along with, that he meshes with, that he has good synergy with, Richard Hartman, I think that's great that those guys have got together and are really making they're serious championship contenders. Granted it's early in the season, but man, the way Wilkerson's car ran this weekend, he won every quad that he was in out here at zMax. And great reaction times. The car, I can't say enough about how good they are doing.
Yep.
That's tough. And Wilkerson has probably, I don't know, and this is no disparage to Wilkerson, but Wilkerson has half or less than half of the budget of some of these big teams. So for him to be out there running like he does, it's a big testament to how hard that team is working and what a good job they're doing. They're being smart. They're racing good.
And this is how you've done it in your career. A guy that kind of, ran his own deal and called all the shots. So if there's anybody that knows what he goes through on a week-to-week basis, it's you.
It's tough. And it's, I don't think it's any mystery. It's really hard right now. NHRA is pushing you to get done in between rounds fast. There's more guys working on the car, so it's complicated. So to drive the car, to own the car, to tune the car, to sign autographs and do all the things that you need to do for sponsors, that's a tough job. So hats off to Tim Wilkerson. Great job. Super proud of those guys.
And coming up, we'll have an interview that we did a little bit earlier this morning with Tim Wilkerson, as he right now is on a plane and heading to Houston. We'll also talk to Brittany Force about her second win of the season, second win of her career, another team that's really getting it done, and also Jason Line, and an unbelievable season for him. 5 consecutive, we've had 5 races this year. He's been in the finals of every one of them. He's won 3 of them. So we'll talk to Jason Line here coming up in a couple of minutes. But you know what's coming up here in a couple of weekends? Trick question. I know I'm going to put you on the spot.
Mother's Day.
Bingo.
Mother's Day coming up, and new supporter here on the Straight Line, proflowers.com. So I'm going to be contacting proflowers.com and sending my mom some flowers.
Nice.
Everybody needs to do that for their mom. For Mother's Day.
Right, and I'm guessing Mimi will probably be a part of that.
Well, Mimi's a mom too.
Yeah, exactly. So we may double up. Get your mom 100 blooms in a free glass vase for $19.99, and you can make the day extra special, getting a premium vase and chocolates as well for $9.99 more. Go to Pro Flowers today. Use the code MRN. So remember, next week, Mother's Day, or actually coming up in a couple of weeks, it's Mother's Day weekend. Get 100 blooms with a free vase, starting at $19.99. Visit proflowers.com. Get
promo code MRN.
Promo code. There's a blue microphone up in the upper right-hand corner. You click that, type in MRN, and you get the deal. And the offer expires on midnight on Friday. Coming up, as we said, we will have a recorded interview that we had with Tim Wilkerson. He is in the air as we speak, headed down to Houston, and that interview comes up next.
This is The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. We'll have more for you right after this.
Restore lost fuel economy and eliminate rough idle with Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, buy 2 bottles of Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner and get 1 free. Clean clogged injectors and increase fuel efficiency with Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner. Buy 2, get 1 free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Where can you find MRN-affiliated radio stations? Go to stationsonmrn.com to find your local station or stations that stream MRN's race broadcasts and programs. That's stations at mrn.com.
Stay up to date with the latest news from the NASCAR Garage, weekdays on NASCAR Today, midday.
We can enhance the fans' experience, and I think that's what we really need to zero in on and provide.
Hear from the drivers and teams as they chase the 2016 championship trophy.
Change is good in our sport. It re-energizes people, makes everybody, step up to the plate, so to speak.
NASCAR Today, midday, weekdays on the Motor Racing Network, your source for NASCAR news.
MRN.com's Pod Tracks, a daily podcast that takes you in-depth into the world of NASCAR. Go beyond the headlines for the latest NASCAR stories. Pod Tracks, available in the Media Center at MRN.com or subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher. It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now here's Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Welcome back to The Straight Line here on Welcome back to The Straight Line here on a Thursday afternoon. I'm Marty Huff, and joined right now on the hotline is the winner of the Funny Car Division of the 4-Wide Nationals this weekend at zMax Dragway. Tim Wilkerson joins us. Tim, thanks for your time. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on a fantastic win.
Hey, thank you. Hey, Marty, I'm the guy that's living on 5 hours of sleep. It's Wednesday.
Yeah, well, we're just getting everything recorded here in the can, so that's why I'm a day behind.
Me too.
Yeah. And so after you got home on from Sunday's win at the 4-Wides, what's your week been like? I mean, usually you're back to business, right?
Yeah, well, we actually stayed there and run Brian Stewart's car on Monday. So I didn't get home here till Tuesday about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we got to get on a plane at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in St. Louis to go to Houston. So as long as the rain lets us do that. But, yeah, it's been very busy. Got a brand-new body. I'm taking over to the painter as soon as we're off the phone.
Now, the last time we talked to you, of course, after your first win of the season, you were retiring the old car and bringing in the new car, but that really hasn't happened. What's been the journey of this new car, old car?
No, yeah, that was a new car at Charlotte.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, Daniel was actually driving the old car, the one that won at Phoenix. He was actually driving that at Charlotte, and I had the brand new Murph McKinney car. we actually debuted that at Vegas the week before, and it worked out well there. I just made some bad decisions tuning it. So this weekend it all came together.
I love your attitude, and it's not one that we hear a whole lot, but in the media center after the race, you said, and I'll try to quote you as close as possible, we're not here to drink beer and chase girls. We're here to kick somebody's ass and go home, and that's exactly what you did. You know, not the most spectacular of weekends going into Sunday, qualified 8th, you know, just kind of under the radar, a typical Tim Wilkerson type of weekend, and then finally ended up at the day with Wally.
Well, you know, the car ran good qualifying. I just wasn't leaning on it hard. Again, still trying to learn. I got a new clutch flow system on there, and I keep radiating that I'm having problems with it, because I am. It's just, you know, I got, 10 runs under my belt with the damn thing.
Yeah,
now.
right.
It just is. It's giving me. It's not showing me the same things my other one did. It's not bad. It's just different.
Yeah.
So as soon as I get that thing figured out a little better, I think we'll even be a little faster yet. So I'm pretty excited about it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, bad news for the competition.
I hope so.
96 in the final. Was that kind of what you were looking for at that particular time? Because nobody else really ran close to that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what we were looking for. My kid came up to me, and Hartman and I were talking, and my kid goes, "What are you going to try and run?" I said, 96. And he says, "Are you crazy?" I said, "Well, it went 99 last run, and I probably had it in one, so it probably went 98, and it was pretty dang safe. So the track ought to be 4 or 5 degrees colder, so we ought to be able to go a little faster." And
right.
Hartman's trying to reel me back in, too. He's like, "Dude, let's don't screw this up." Right. So, but they, you know, he's just been a great asset. So everything really is working well. We got a good rapport with each other, and we're getting to know what each other thinks, and that's really going to work out well for us, I think.
You mentioned your son Daniel. He was in competition this weekend. So how did that change what you have to do on a normal weekend basis? Because he's one of the key cogs in your team.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You know, Daniel is just a special kid, and we were trying to shake down Brian Stewart's car for him is what we were trying to do. We put new cylinder heads on it, and a new fuel system on it, and a new blower on it. And instead of Brian driving it and it having holes out and him having problems, I asked Brian if he cared if Daniel drove it, and he was like, "Oh, no, I think that would be a good idea." So, you know, we made some laps in it there, and Dan was really doing a good job driving it. And, you know, he hadn't drove in a year,
right.
You know, so first time he went down the track, it went 4:11. So he did a really good job, and then we just had a mishap first round. But you know, we spent a lot of time over there, more time than I wanted, I can tell you that. But he was laughing about that. He says, "Dang, dude, you were tuning 2 cars and still won the race." I said, "Well, we were just lucky there, I think." But we'll take it, and we're excited about helping them guys. They're a great group of people over there at Brian Stewart's, and we're trying to make a race car driver out of Brian, and that's the next goal, I think, is to get his program going in the right direction. Maybe we can find some sponsorship with it, because we need cars. We got to have some cars out there.
Yeah, and speaking of car counts, one of the guys that showed up this weekend was Bob Tasca, a guy that you had worked with, when he was running on a full-time basis. Did you have a chance to maybe bounce some things off of Bob while he was there as well?
Oh no, Bob's a DSR car now, so I'm not allowed in the trailer. I can't be stealing any of those DSR secrets.
Yeah, I understand.
No, them guys are they're helping Bob. They've sold him a chassis and a tune-up back. They said last year he was racing, in fact, and it, you know, them DSR cars run damn good. So that was a good move on Bob's part, I think, and they're willing to help him, and you know, because he really don't have a crew chief anymore. He's got, you know, Tom, which is his main man. There's only one left out of his whole crew there.
Right.
So they're kind of guiding him a little bit here and there. I think Eric Lane from the Napa car was over there helping him, and I've seen Okahara over there a couple times, kind of trying to push him in a different direction too. So anyway, it'll be okay, I think. But we need Bob back out there. I mean, we need cars, and he was frustrated with his last year racing, and I think it's just sometimes you get too many cooks in the dang soup, and it messes it up. But Bob would be a great asset to our organization. We need to get him back out there.
If you were going to pick a good weekend to do really well, this weekend was probably it. Sold out on Saturday. I'd say probably 90% full on Sunday. That's a lot of eyeballs on you picking up a Wally.
Right. Well, and we need that. You know, we need the whole sport needs that kind of attendance, and you know, Bruton building that, what he calls the Bellagio, I think that's cute.
Yeah.
And it really is a spectacular place. My kid had never been there. That's one reason he wanted to race there. And you know, I said, you're not worried about racing a 4-wide, but he's such a spectacular driver. He doesn't really, none of that stuff bothers him at all.
Yeah.
They got screwed up the first qualifier they made because the kid couldn't get the wheelie bar set, and they hung Big Jim out, and that was kind of an issue. And it's a good thing Big Jim's 80 years old. I think he'd whooped all their asses, but I was happy. I was happy he didn't. He told them, he said, you need to fire half them people over there. They're too dumb to work on a fuel car. I thought that was a great Big Jim moment. So, so I love that guy. But anyhow, he did a good job, and the 4-wide is just a neat venue anyway. But there is, I really have a hard time with it as a crew chief because there's no time to think. You know what I mean? The quads go by so quickly.
Yeah.
You can't adjust your car fast enough. So you kind of got to go up there with your scenarios in mind. And we changed one scenario one time. And outside of that, we run what we thought we were going to run when we got to the starting line, and it worked out. So.
Is that a good scenario or a bad scenario that you don't have any time to think about it? And why I ask that is that we're going to talk to Brittany Force here in a couple of minutes. She had a big thrash getting up to the starting line where her belts were behind her seat. They had to unbuckle they had to unbolt the seat, get the straps back out so she could get in. I asked her about it, and she said, actually, it was a good thing because I had no time to think about it. I just went up there, staged the thing, and launched it. Sometimes can you overthink things a little bit?
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, had a lot of time between rounds because there's only 3 rounds.
Right.
I mean, we had the car on the ground for half an hour, 45 minutes every round, and that gave me a lot of time to do just what you said. I even walked over to Brian Stewart's car a couple times to take my mind off turning the knobs on mine, you know.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. It's sometimes too much time is bad when you're a procrastinator. You know? And my wife always says that my first instinct is my best because sometimes when I had other people helping me in the past, I would let them, you know, interfere with my thoughts. You know what I mean? They would influence me in a negative way. And Richard doesn't really seem to do that. He lets me talk and then just shuts up and tells me his opinion without trying to say, no, God dang it, we need 3 more grams on the thing.
Mm-hmm.
He'll listen and say, okay, that's not a bad idea. Here's my idea, but he won't push it on me, and that really works out well. You know what I mean? I mean, he's really done a good job with that. But anyhow, I think you're right. I heard Brittany say that, and I don't know why they had the seat out of the car between rounds and got her seat belts back there, but that's when you have people, you have problems. That's the way that works.
Yeah, and 3 wins in the last calendar year. I think going back to probably 2010 is maybe the last time you've accomplished something like that, and off to your best start, I think, as a pro overall with 2 wins this early in the year. Does Richard Hart made a big part of that? Just the success over the last year.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, he really is. That's what I said. He's been invaluable. I mean, he's just not evasive, and that's what I need. Somebody that's not going to try to influence all my thoughts all the time. He listens to me and then has great ideas because he's seen a lot of race cars. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
He's driven them. He's seen them. You know, he knows the problems that I have driving, and that helps me too because he'll come and he laughs all the time. He always goes, "I've never had a driver that I could say, okay, now you're going to drive it out there 300 feet and you're going to move it over a half a tire, and then I want you to stay there and then move it back over the other way, 2 tires." He goes, because every other driver I've ever had is like, "I'll just hit the gas," you know. So he's laughing about that all the time. He's like, "I've never had anybody I could tell what to do, and they actually can do it." So, and I still make plenty of mistakes. Believe me, in the finals there, I hit the gas, and the thing got out there, and I really got disoriented. Because, again, them 4 lanes, they muck up your deal. You can't. Sometimes you get out of whack.
Yeah.
And I got disoriented, and I thought, hell, I'm in the wrong spot. So I tried to move back over, and when I did, because I was lined clean up on the outside of lane 2, and I had to move over about probably a half a car to get back in the middle. And when I got back in the middle, I let it drift too far, and when I was trying to turn it back, I was looking at the cones, so I drove right in the damn cone. I mean, I just did a terrible job. If you watch the video of the thing, you can see my kid pointing, like, turn right, old man. It was really funny. So, but I just didn't do a very good job driving in the finals. But they were like, how far did you miss that cone by? I said, oh, hell, I was 2 foot away from that cone. I was fine. So I wasn't going to hit it, believe me. I'd have shut the throttle before I hit it. But
we're streaming on video, and we just put that up there, and man, you hit that right on the nose. About half track or so, that thing starts going way towards the middle, and then you had to yank it back in there. Yeah, that's a perfect description.
It was bad. Once you get one tire out of the groove, the other tire's doing all the driving. It's like driving a Bobcat that you're hanging on to one brake.
Yeah.
So, and I just got it over there too far, and once it got over there, and then it started spinning the tires, and it actually dropped a couple holes down there. I mean, the thing would have went probably 95 at 320 something if it wouldn't have done that. Wow. I mean, my lousy driving job could have cost us the race there. But fortunately, it was still plenty fast enough to get by the other guys.
Yep. Headed to Houston, notorious for being a horsepower track. Obviously, you're right down at sea level. What are the advantages and disadvantages of Houston?
Well, the only disadvantage of Houston is all the damn rain we're going to have.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be spotty. The track it'll be hard to make rubber stick to it. It's not a bad racetrack when the sun's down and they got rubber stuck to it, but with all this water they've had, I really expect it to be plenty dicey early, because we're going to try to tear the starting line up leaving all the time. And whenever you follow anything with a clutch, I think they got alcohol cars there, and they got the pro stock guys too. Man, they just destroy the starting line for us. So that'll be our biggest challenge, I think. And that place has got a lot of crown in it too. It's kind of a strange lane, the way they got the things, way they got the crown put in the track to get the water to run off of it. So you got to be careful driving there. But I'm pretty good at that place. I think I'll be okay as long as Richard can keep me reeled in and keep me from trying to be Mr. Low ET every run.
Headed to Houston right now. As a matter of fact, here not too long, he'll be on an airplane and headed to Houston and trying to take home his second Wally in a couple of weeks. Tim Wilkerson, driver of the Levi Ray and Shoup Funny Car. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you getting us into your schedule before you head to Houston. And good luck there, and congratulations on the 4-wide win.
Well, I appreciate it. It was a great win for our team. There's no doubt about that. And make sure you tell Brittany that I am so proud of her. God, she is such a great kid, and I can't believe she's John Force's kid, as sweet as she is.
Right.
So I think she's probably the mailman's kid too.
We will. We'll make sure to get that to her. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Tim.
Unfortunately, you can see that big, beautiful smile she has. She looks just like John when she does that. Unfortunately, he's got a claimer. I'm really proud of her. She, like you say, she had such a up and down year last year, and her and I talk every once in a while about that kind of thing.
Sure.
And I'm sure glad that she's coming around and doing well, and because there's a lot of pressure when you have Alan Johnson tuning your car. You think about that.
Yeah.
Everybody that drives a car that guy tuned has won championships one way or the other. So there's some aura that he's the greatest tuner in the world, right? So you just think about that. Dale Worsham used to tell me all the time, I hate driving this car because I'm the only problem. So,
that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you look at the pressure that poor girl's got on her, and she's doing a damn good job.
Yeah, exactly. 11 championships for him, and so that legacy you have to drag behind you.
Well, that's just it. I mean, it transpires into a problem for the rest of the team and the driver, especially, because then you feel like you're the weak link if anything goes wrong.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So and Brittany had plenty of problems last year, leaving late or red lighting, or she's just trying too hard. And now she's in a groove where she's just being a little machine, and, man, she's just doing great.
Yep.
So I'm proud of her.
Absolutely. Tim, thanks for your time. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll catch up with you next week as well.
I hope you have to call me again.
Absolutely. Tim Wilkerson, driver of the Levi Ray and Shoup Funny Car and winner of the 4-wide Nationals. Hey, folks, real quick, want to ask for your help in exchange. Give you a chance to win your own Google Chromecast. In an effort to give you the kind of web programming you want, we're asking you to take a little survey at www.mylistenerstudy.com. The survey is completely anonymous and will help you help us give you more of what you like. And don't forget to enter for that Google Chromecast. Again, that's mylistenerstudy.com. We really appreciate your feedback, and we really appreciate Tim Wilkerson joining us here on The Straight Line. More of the program coming up.
This is The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. More coming up right after this.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, right on our strength.
MRN's Wing Nation on MAV TV.
Hi, I'm Donnie Schatz.
This is Paul McMahon.
Hi, I'm Brian Brown.
I'm Steve Post.
And this is Kendra Jacobs.
Join us every Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time for MRN's Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit on MAV TV.
I'm Kyle Larson.
Hi, I'm Sammy Swindell.
I'm Kerry Madsen.
We talk with sprint car winners, newsmakers, and personalities, and give you the latest sprint car news every week.
I'm Rico Abreu. This is Wing Nation with Steve and Kendra.
MRN's Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit.
Saturdays at 9:30 on MAV TV.
Motor Racing Network, glad to have you aboard for our coverage of practice, something we will be doing all throughout the year.
They are pretty close in practice.
You said you learned a lot in practice.
We can have a good, clean practice.
How many teams are going to opt out of practice?
Get this practice session underway.
As we close out practice.
What are we talking about? Practice? We're talking about practice, man.
We are talking practice. Sprint Cup Series practice on the Motor Racing Network. Join us all season long on MRN.com and the MRN app. Welcome back to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's more with Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Welcome back to the show. Appreciate Tim Wilkerson joining us a little bit earlier this morning, as he is on his way right now to Houston and getting ready for racing down in Baytown. Interesting place to run because they're in the Houston area. You're down low. You're almost at sea level. So that place
it's
really...
Actually, I think it's below sea level.
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 10 or 20 feet below sea level in Baytown. So that they can get some mine shaft, unbelievable racing conditions down there at that Houston track. And the Angel family, Gay family, have owned it for a long time. I think it's just the Angel family now maybe owns the track. But they're racers, and so they really, they have a lot of pride in making sure that track is one of the best surfaces to run on and race on. So they generally run really, really well down there. So I'm sure that the cars are going to be fast and run good this weekend. It's been a place where records have been set, over the years quite a few times. So don't be surprised depending on the weather conditions, because obviously Houston can be hot and crummy, but hopefully this weekend the weather will be good, and there's probably going to be some really fast times.
Yeah, and Tim Wilkerson was talking about in our interview a little bit later or a little bit earlier that weather conditions.
The flooding, they had all the poor folks down there in Houston got just beat up here. With the rain and flooding and all that.
Yeah, and this weekend doesn't look a whole lot better. So we're hoping to hopefully get it in. But showers, and the last thing that the people down there need.
The problem with being below sea level, as soon as it rains, guess what? Water comes up through the track, and it's a big mess.
A couple years ago, they had a real problem. Basically, same issue where there was a lot of rain over the prior weeks heading into it, and even though the pro pits were okay, most times the sportsmen have to go back into off areas where there's grass and mud, and they had that problem a couple of years ago. Hopefully we'll avoid that this weekend. Sun comes out.
The pit areas get flooded out down there, and especially, like you say, the sportsman pit areas, they can't run their cars because they're flooded, and also when they try and take their car to the starting line, it drags up water and mud and just makes a big mess. So hopefully the NHRA will have some good weather and they'll be able to pull that race off. But oh boy, I didn't realize they were having bad weather forecast.
Yeah. So we'll hope for the best, prepare for the worst, but hope for the best down in Houston this weekend. It was interesting what Tim Wilkerson was talking about at the end of his interview, that he and Brittany Force have become friends, and he's been a bit of a mentor to her for a while. And as a matter of fact, we'll talk to Brittany about that right now. winner of the 4-wide nationals this weekend in the Top Fuel category. Driver of the Monster Energy Top Fuel dragster, Brittany Force, joins us. Brittany, congratulations on the win. We were just talking. We just had Tim Wilkerson on the show. And I didn't know it that you and Tim had become buds over the last couple of years. He's been kind of a mentor for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up out at the racetrack as a kid, so I've known Wilkerson forever, and his whole family. And he's one of the greatest competitors, in our sport. Courtney and my dad compete against him, and he's just so awesome. I've talked to him quite a bit, just about whether it's, staging or pedaling the car, mostly about pedaling the car, even though he's in a funny car, I'm in a dragster. But he's been really awesome to, have a friend out there where I could go to him if I ever need any help or, need advice, and he's always there.
I'll tell you what, Brittany, after that win at Gainesville, it didn't take you long to bring back another win. That was you've really got it down now. That is so good to see, and got to bring a lot of excitement to your team.
I know, it really is incredible. I mean, it took us, in my 4th season when our first win finally came at the Gator Nationals in Gainesville, Florida. So it was my 4th season, and I don't know, it just, I was not shocked because I know my team is absolutely capable of, putting together a fast race car and turning on those win lights. But for how much of a struggle it was, how much of a challenge it was to get that first win, I didn't think the second one would come as soon as it did, but it felt great, and I'm proud of the entire Monster Energy team, and it felt good. And I don't know if these wins get easier, but it's just, it
sure seemed like that second one did, right?
No, I mean in a sense of just accepting it.
Yeah.
I'm just still on top of the world over the first one, and now the second one, and I don't know if you ever get used to bringing home a win.
Now, for the fans that may not know the story, tell us about what happened in the staging lanes before the finals, because it was a bit of a thrash.
Oh, absolutely. We were back in the staging lanes. I was getting suited up, jumped in the car, got some of my belts on, and one of them was, stuck up behind me. And in dragsters, in a top fuel dragster, it is already so tight in that space. And, having somebody else reach in there to get your belts, there's not a lot of space at all. And one of my belts was caught back, so they were yanking on it, pulling on it. And, we couldn't get it loosened. So climbed out of the car, and then we hear funny cars all go down the track. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them go down the racetrack. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, funny cars running. I'm not even in the car. There's no top fuel cars in the lanes next to me anymore because they're all pulled up on the starting line. And these guys, the entire team, every single one of them, is trying to get these belts pulled out. The problem was when the car was bolted back together in the pits, one got hung up back there, and there was no way, no cramming it, trying to get it through. So the guys started unbolting the car, and we got it loosened, got it pulled forward, and climbed back in, belted me up, and we just swung around right into the lanes, pulled into that second lane, and, got ready to go down the racetrack. It was a thrash. For a moment, I thought, we're not going to be able to make it up there. After hearing funny cars go down the racetrack, and we still weren't there, I thought, oh my gosh, we're not going to make it up there in time.
Well, looking at your reaction times,
we won.
looking at your reaction times, it looked like it didn't throw you off very much. You were on.
I know.
You were on it all day.
Sometimes when there's commotion or it's just something's going on and it's last minute and it's climb in, climb out, and you're so concerned about that. I don't know what it is. Maybe it takes your mind off that it's a final round and that you're at the 4-wide and you have to stage with 3 other cars and just all of it. But sometimes we do really well under pressure, and it worked in our favor in Charlotte that day.
And then on top of everything else, you had no idea that you had won until you got to the top end.
No, I had no clue. It's tough. Even standing on the starting line watching our other cars, I get confused just because we do this once a year, 4-wide, and it gets confusing. And when I got out at the other end, I actually did not see a wind light. The other rounds, I saw a wind light. When I got out at the other end, I didn't see a wind light at all. So I climbed out and I asked, when our team was coming over, asked one of our guys, hey, did we win? And he said, yeah, you got it. You got the win. And then the camera started to come around. And I probably asked 3 more times after that, are you sure? Are you sure we won? Are you sure? Because I know it gets a little confusing, and I didn't want to be, hollering for something that didn't happen. And then all the cameras rolled around, and it's just, I still can't get over it. I want to go back and do it all over again.
Hey, it was a neat fact that I saw. First female to win Nitro class at zMax Dragway, which I was just surprised, because your sisters ran well there. Lexus, obviously a lot of other really good female competitors, but the first female win at zMax Dragway in the Nitro class has got to be kind of neat,
yeah,
too.
And I think that's pretty awesome. That's exciting, and it shows that, there are more ladies, building up in the sport, and we need more things like that. And I'm glad that it came sooner for a female to win at the 4-wide rather than later down the road.
I was reading an article, I think it was just out a few days ago, a pretty neat section in the USA Today sports deal about your dad and building the house and whatever, racing with his brother Louie and all this kind of stuff. Anyways, pretty neat article in USA Today. Did you see that?
Yes. I actually have a copy. He gave me like 3 copies when we were flying to the last race. And, it's a huge article. It was pretty cool to see it. It had a little picture from my win and had a picture of my dad and Noah, my nephew, on the front. And it was an awesome article that the reporter had followed my dad for about 3 days in Vegas. Drove home with him from Vegas, so how he survived that, I don't know.
How could anyone keep up with your dad for 3 days?
Yeah.
That was cool.
As I understand it, you will be headed to NASA when you get to Houston. Tell us about that.
Yeah, actually it was, NHRA asked us, they always try to get us involved in things to put on for the show. So Courtney and I are going in a little bit early tomorrow, and we're going to take a tour of NASA. And I've never, actually, you know what? I have been. When I was a kid, I barely remember it. The only thing I remember about it is at the gift shop, my mom let me buy some little box thing. And then we packed up and went to the racetrack. And so it's been a long time. I was probably 5 or 6 years old. I don't know. And but now we're going back. So it'll be fun. It'll be Courtney and I, and I'm sure that you'll see it on the show this weekend.
How about John Force Racing all the way around? Number 1 in points in Top Fuel car, and then number 1, 3, and 5 in points in the funny car. What has happened over there? You guys have really come after it.
Yeah, it feels great to start our season. Like that, Roberts won the points. The Monster Energy team, we're number 1 in the points right now, and it feels really good. But we want to keep that momentum, and we still have a long season ahead of us. And these points get so tight at times where, one round, 1 weekend could just swap you, up and down. That's how it was last year for our team finishing the season. It was, we were up there in points and then dropped down and back up, and it was all over the place. But we're hoping to, keep that hanging on in the top spots.
And if I'm not mistaken, it was about a year ago at Atlanta, Coke's home track, where Monster Energy debuted with you. So we're talking about just about a year or so that Monster has been on your car. Let's talk about that relationship and how that's been over the last calendar year.
Everyone from Monster is awesome. I feel very lucky, very blessed to be teamed up with a company like them. They're so supportive. They're so great. And, they're just, it was really, winning last weekend was such a huge deal. One of the guys that helped this whole Monster Energy sponsor deal happen, he was actually there last weekend in Charlotte, and he was just over the moon for our win. But it's been great working with them. And now that, the first year's out of the way, our first season with them is out of the way, I'm starting to do more things with them. I did. We went to Supercross in Indy a few months ago, about a month ago. It was right after our first win, and did an unveiling of our car, and I signed autographs and held one of the 30-second cards before the show started, and it was cool being able to, I was completely out of my element in a sport I know nothing about, but it was fun to, do something different on their end of things, and I hope to, do more things like that with them.
Well, yeah, I was down there with Ralph Shaheen at the Indy Motocross. I didn't have a chance to go run down there and see you, but I saw you. Yeah, you were doing a great job for drag racing and for Monster Energy at the motocross. So, congratulations! Great win at the 4-wide.
Thank you.
Just keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing.
That's the plan.
Driver of the Monster Energy Top Fuel dragster, Brittany Force, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and good luck this weekend in Houston.
Thank you so much.
Brittany Force joining us on the Straight Line. And when we return, we'll talk to the winner of the Pro Stock Division in a home race for him. Jason Lyon will join us next.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. More right after this.
If it's hard to stop or you hear squealing and grinding noises during braking, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts. You'll find the brake parts you need from trusted brands like Brake Best Select, and Wagner Thermoquiet at everyday low prices. Play it safe with brake parts from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Looking to find the best place for all the latest NASCAR Sprint Cup, Xfinity, Camping World Truck, K&N, and Modified Series news? MRN.com is the place to go. Your online home for NASCAR news, opinion, podcasts, videos, race schedules, results, and statistics. Award-winning motorsports writers keep you informed and up to date on all the latest breaking NASCAR news and in-depth stories and opinion. MRN.com, your online home for all the NASCAR information you're looking for. Before you set your fantasy racing lineup, check in with our experts to get the inside line on who's fast and who's last entering the race weekend. Robbie Mays and Tyler Burnett take you inside the facts, stats, and latest news from the track so you have everything you need to set your team and win the weekend. Log on to MRN.com and enter the Media Center every Friday. It's the inside line on demand and only on the Motor Racing Network. You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, it's back to Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Big thanks to Tim Wilkerson and Brittany Force for joining us on The Straight Line. The famous quote from you when we talked to Eric Anders Stevens, years ago, before she got her first win at Chicago, that was in 2012 or so.
Yeah, we might have talked to her on the show within a few weeks before she got that first win. Yeah, and then we talked to her right after.
Yeah, but it was you that said, once you get that first one, man, they'll just start coming in bunches, and she was very gracious.
It's not necessarily come in bunches, but they come easier. That first one's hard to get.
Yeah.
But after that first one, they come a little bit easier. You find your way to the final round, and you know how to win. It's like that pressure is off, and I'm sure, Brittany Force, and I don't want to burst her bubble. She'd been racing for 4 years, but that wasn't that long, like her dad. I got lucky, actually. I don't know, it was lucky, good, whatever. My third full season of NHRA, I won Top Fuel, and so that was pretty rewarding. Her dad, I think, went maybe 15 years without getting a first win. Yeah. So I don't want to hear her, it's like, yeah, guess what? 4 years is not that bad, especially now when she's got really one of the baddest hot rods on the, out there at the track. But Alan Johnson, and it's amazing. We've talked about Alan before, and we've had him on the show. Yeah. But everywhere that Alan goes, within a short period of time, they start winning. And I've known Alan since the early 80s when Alan actually drove their top alcohol dragster, and Blaine worked on the car, and then they decided that Alan wasn't that good of a driver, so they let Blaine start driving the car, and then, the rest of that is history. I mean, they won, I don't even know how many times they won alcohol dragster championship, and then 1995, when Blaine got killed, they were most likely going to win the NHRA Top Fuel Championship that year.
Yeah.
And, Alan just never stopped. I mean, then Selzy jumped in the car, Winston sponsorship, and they knocked him dead for several years. Yeah. And then just went right on from there. Alan Wright, Army, and, I can't even name all the places where he's won. But everywhere, one common denominator is they win.
Yeah.
Alan knows
win
how to
races.
Win.
Yep. Win races, win championship. By the way, you mentioned the Army, and Tony Schumacher, of course, won of a whole bunch of championships with Alan Johnson. On Friday, tomorrow, Tony Schumacher will officially be on Twitter. Now, if this is the first, or this will be the second one in a couple of weeks, because Greg Anderson joined Twitter just this past week and started doing tweeting, and as he said, whatever you guys do. If in the media center, Greg said, I didn't know that what I had for lunch was interesting to fans, but I guess it is. So
I think Schumacher had a Twitter, but it seemed like he only sent a couple tweets from it, and then he must have lost the password or something.
Maybe it was a team one. I don't know. But he's going to have a personal one, and they've put out a press release. NHRA did. And so he's going to have a big unveiling on Friday. He's going to send out a tweet on his on this new Twitter page. And obviously this is a day and age where everybody expects you to be accessible through social media. Some are better at it than others, and obviously you're one of the best ones out there about that. But
well, it's fun. I wish I had more racing stuff to talk about.
Yeah, right.
Hopefully we'll get that back one of these days.
It was interesting. We were just before I took a left turn there. In the final Top Fuel, you have Antron Brown, Doug Coletta, and Clay Milliken, three of the best levers in the business. Brittany left on all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, just
well, that's what I was noting to her a little bit ago on our show, was she did a great job driving that car. So I don't know if the pressure from having such a really good running car, because, I mean, she's got beat on some hole shots. I don't think that's any mystery there. But I'll tell you what, she has really made a turnaround in her timing driving that car. She is and I haven't stood behind the car to watch it go down the track, but I'm just guessing that, generally the reaction time is a good part of it. But she's made enough good runs down the track that she has the feel for the car now. I mean, she's made, 4 years is enough runs down the track to have a good feel for it. But she's really getting it. I mean, she's in a position to win. I mean, she could win a bunch more races this year. This isn't just 2 and then nothing. I'm guessing we're going to be talking to her a few more times this year.
Have you ever found yourself in a situation where she was in, where they're coming up to the staging lanes, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, bleep.
Oh, yeah.
Something's gone wrong. And they had to unbolt the seat from the car, get the strap out so that they could get her into the car.
Well, that's the problem with having one of those coupe, with the top on it. You got a convertible, you don't have to worry about it. But you got a coupe, you do got to worry about it. But I have had that happen where, one of my, arm restraints is not hooked in, or my helmet strap is not hooked in. And right when you're getting ready to start the car, you go, uh-oh, we can't, I can't run the car without an arm restraint or whatever. So, yeah, I've had that happen before, and it's not a good feeling. So I'm pretty proud of her that she got out of the car, did what she needed to do, jumped back in the car, and was ready to go. And it didn't throw her off.
It didn't throw her off, because that would have been the best excuse of anything. Well, we had a thrash up there, and, I got confused, and lights, and, 3 competitors and all that.
I think she's feeling pressure from that team. There's pressure on the driver when the car runs as good as that car runs.
Yeah.
And some people have trouble with the pressure, and some people rise up, and she's rising up to the pressure.
Yeah, no question about that. And it's not like she doesn't have anybody to bounce things off of. She was talking about she likes to bounce things off Tim Wilkerson, probably because trying to bounce things off her dad is a little bit
tough. You talk to Force,
tough.
you talk to Wilkerson. Wilkerson, you can have a conversation with. Force, you get like one word in, and then Force, let me tell you, and then he goes on down the road, which, don't get me wrong, I love John Force, and he is so much fun to talk to, but I'm sure in a little bit different position being his kid, he gets pretty wound up. I've seen him jump in, Courtney's funny car, Ashley's funny car, jump almost in the car and tell him, okay, this is what you got to do. But they're all buttoned in the car, ready to go run. Mm-hmm. And Force is telling them how to run the race. It's like, I love you, Force, but tell them what to do. And once they get in the car, I think you need to leave him alone.
Yeah.
But he gets so, he's so excited And, Force, his personality is not to sit down and watch.
No.
His personality is jump in there and what can I do to help? He's into it.
The one thing that Brittany has on her side is that John Force will say, and has had no problem in saying, I know nothing about Top Fuel dragsters. I have no idea about dragsters, and I'm going to let those guys alone. Well, which he has, but that's also probably helped Brittany out because he's not going to be there.
Alan Johnson comes in, and Alan has had quite a few different drivers over the years, and so he's been able to probably help coach her on what to expect. Alan's, as far as I know, he's never driven a Top Fuel dragster, but he's been there and helped plenty of other people do it. He's probably a help with her, is coaching her along to drive that car too. I'm sure of it.
Yep. Lots of drivers and lots of wins, lots of championships, and we're expecting lots more from Brittany Force here in the races in years to come. When we return, we'll wrap up another great edition of the show.
This is The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. More coming up right after this.
When the smoke settles, the entertainment never stops.
It's everybody just trying to say my last name. They just don't finish it.
On race weekends, your favorite NASCAR personality is an everyday superhero.
And here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr.
But when they leave the racetrack, they're just like everyone else.
For the most part, our hearts were wagon makers.
I'm Susie Armstrong. Join me on a daily journey as we discuss the hot topics and engaging personalities of NASCAR Nation. Ned Jarrett's World of Racing, weekdays on the Motor Racing Network.
O'Reilly. Restore lost fuel economy and eliminate rough idle with Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, buy 2 bottles of Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner and get 1 free. Clean clogged injectors and increase fuel efficiency with Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner. Buy 2, get 1 free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Motor Racing Network has always been your source for motorsports coverage when you couldn't be at the track. Now, never miss another minute of our breathtaking coverage with the MRN app, available on your iPhone or Android device. This free app delivers all the latest news, locates nearby MRN stations, streams your favorite programs, and is your home for live Sprint Cup practice and qualifying action. Search MRN in the App Store or on Google Play. It's the Motor Racing Network at your fingertips, and it's available for free right now.
It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now here's Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Thanks for joining us on The Straight Line today. Tim Wilkerson and Brittany Force joining us. A big weekend for breaks coming up north and out west.
Yep, Detroit up there this weekend at the Mopar plant in Centerline, Michigan, and then also out in Pomona with our friends at the NHRA and the LA County Raceway. A lot of people from Kia coming out there to help us out, so we're really excited about that. We're coast to coast this weekend.
Wow.
And then coming up a lot, we've got several weekends coming up in July. So if you're anywhere in the Southern California area, we have Los Angeles, Orange County, and San Diego coming up in July. So go to putonthebrakes.org for more information about our July classes.
Yeah, one of the cool things is that you get the opportunity to work with the NHRA. Pomona and the county fairgrounds there, they all work together, and whenever there's an opportunity and there's an open weekend, that you're able to fill those holes and to be able to bring classes to
and the NHRA and the Fairplex have been incredible to work with, so big thanks to them.
And for more information, where do they go?
Yeah, putonthebrakes.org, driving schools, and check out the schedules.
Thanks for being here on The Straight Line. So for Doug Herbert, for Robbie Mays, for Daryl Smith, I'm Marty Huff. We will talk to you next week after Houston here on The Straight Line.
You've been listening to The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Tune in again next Thursday at noon Eastern on MotorRacingNetwork.com and the MRN app. The Straight Line is the show for drag racing fans and is brought to you by Hercules Tires. This program is also available on demand at the MRN.com Media Center, or you can download it through iTunes or Stitcher. The Straight Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.